So, magandang umaga po. Mabuhay. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to NOORDWIJK for the fourth round of formal talks between the government of the Philippines and the National Democratic Front of the Philippines. We made it. We are back where we belong at the negotiating table. So, congratulations. And this is the way to address these challenges here at the table, by talking, discussing, arguing. This is the only way to move forward here at the negotiating table.
President Duterte has been gracious to let the GRP negotiators go to the back-channel talks of March 10 and 11 in Utrecht to iron out kinks, and now to the fourth round of formal talks. The NDF is most interested in the soon as possible forging of the comprehensive agreement on social and economic reforms to respond to the people's demand for substantive reforms. By its own public pronouncement, the GRP is most interested in obtaining a bilateral ceasefire agreement with the NDFP. This is so possible if President Duterte can put forward the amnesty and release of all political prisoners listed by the NDFP.
We are now very confident that we'll be able to move dramatically from where we have been and where we are in our work for peace in the land.
We are desirous that through the peace negotiations, we can create and develop the conditions to build a strong, sovereign, and independent nation with expanded democracy and social justice for the oppressed and exploited people, enjoying the bounty of economic and social development through genuine land reform, national industrialization, ample social services and benefits, and solidarity with all peoples and countries.
This is the farthest point that we have already achieved in our negotiations with the CPP and NDF. We are now in the fourth round of talks. And I am seeing and noticing that we are no longer in the concept of negotiating, but already sharing common values and common aspirations for a better Philippines.
We shall not fall into the indifference that beset our past negotiations. After all, negotiations, as in other peace processes elsewhere, is all about finding common ground in diversity. And there is no reason for us not to find that ground in this round of talks.
The GRP and NDFP negotiating panels can validate and bind declarations of unilateral ceasefire as the interim bilateral ceasefire agreement in the joint statement to be issued at the end of the fourth round. The GRP and NDFP negotiations are necessary to address the roots of the armed conflict and to agree on the social, economic, political, and constitutional reforms in order to lay the basis for a just and lasting peace.
I share Professor Season's positive views and reiterate the wisdom of securing the approval of the CACER ahead of any single joint ceasefire agreement unless both agreements can be signed simultaneously. It is important to stress the issue of ceasefire should not be pursued as an end in itself. Ceasefires, whether unilateral, bilateral, or joint, are just a means to an end. Its main purpose is to create conditions conducive to reaching agreements on basic reforms that are satisfactory to both sides.
We welcome the openness of the NDF to undertake a forging in this round of talks of an agreement on joint interim ceasefire that will accompany our peace negotiations throughout. A ceasefire that marches in step the discussion of the socio-economic reforms that hopefully will address the root causes of the armed conflict.
The NDFP believes it is possible to have a bilateral ceasefire agreement that conforms to the position that simultaneous and reciprocal declarations of unilateral ceasefires can be agreed upon and bound by a memorandum of understanding that shall be issued at the end of the fourth round of formal talks.
The forging of the ceasefire agreement is not about giving in or giving up. It is about giving all for peace. As President Duterte has called upon us, it is time to break the cycle of violence and break through to peace and reconciliation.
We trust and hope that our counterparts in the GRP side will be as open and resolute in addressing the long drawn-out issues concerning the implementation of an already existing agreement, the Comprehensive Agreement on Respect for Human Rights and International Humanitarian Law. In relation to escalating militarization in the countryside, let me just note that 46 peasants have already been killed under the Duterte administration, according to the Kilusang Magbubukid ng Pilipinas. 50% of these killings were perpetrated following the armed forces of the Philippines' implementation of an all-out war policy on February 2, or at the rate of 1 peasant killed every 2 days.